my guest, Toni, and welcome everybody. It's good to be back. We enjoy our meeting now. We start the new week. I'm going to introduce myself very quickly, um, just to help people that turn on the first time. I'm Sarah M, and I grew up in Cambodia. Unfortunately, my life was just turned upside down when the communist Khmer Rouge took over our country. They turned our country inside out, upside down, into darkness, and recorded in the history as the killing fields. So I am just so grateful that I feel like God was protecting me. That's how I survived, because it's almost impossible to live through and not and still make it. But I'm here. Good news, right? And I put my story in the book. This is my book, How I Survived the Killing Fields.
Mhm.
It's available in my website, sarahm.com. And I like to share my journey with people to inspire, to give them hope. And, um, hope is very important. When we struggle with anything, if we give up hope, that's the end. When we ever give up hope, there's no more hope. Give up hope, no more hope. So that's all I want to share, and I want to turn the microphone back to my co-host, Lee.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. I'm glad today we have a day to buffer up all the time zone. I was living in limbo yesterday until last night at midnight. I was like, wait a minute, how come it say 1 o'clock?
Oh, you were up late.
Oh, well, I am up every day
Late.
late. But what I'm saying is, yeah, I lost track of what my mind thought here. I was just like, Sarah surviving the killing fields, and I survived the boat people era, which is pretty much in the same time frame. So my name is Lee Tran. I came from Vietnam, born in Vietnam, Chinese minority in Vietnam, and then escape out of the country in 1979 after 4 years with the communists. So I too have a story, and I also told it on the TEDx stages last stage 2 years ago, and I wrote my memoir 6 months ago. And so you too can also connect with me and find out who I am if you even want to know who these survivors are. What are they talking about? What credit do they have? Why are they even talking about surviving and persevering and strength and all this thing? Because we have lived it, we have experienced it, and we love to invite people who have strong story, compelling story, and they overcome the bearing of that suffering. And that's what we want, invite people to be on here. And Toni is one of the many people I have met, I guess like 4 years ago at least, through Toastmasters. And we have learned together a lot about public speaking, and we also learned a lot about each other's story. And it's just fascinating to hear that Toni have been through a period of time being an unexpected caregiver for her mom, who have deteriorated in health. And now, not like anybody just taking care of a sick person, right? Taking care of a sick person for 14 years and literally have to live through that person's life is nothing, nothing short of it. It takes perseverance. So we have Toni here today to share with us the journey that she went and how she turned that around to become helping people now if they battling with the decision, should we hire a caretaker? Should we take care of the sick one, or how do we do that? So Toni, welcome to our show, and thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much. I never thought of myself as surviving my caregiving experience until you both created the title Surviving to Thriving. And then I realized I did that it was about, in some ways, surviving. And I didn't find out or hear about the statistics till a couple of years ago. And here's the statistics, which are astonishing. 30% of people who are caring for a loved one with a long-term illness or aging issues die before the person they're caring
Oh,
for.
wow.
30%, and it's up to 60% of people who are taking care of loved ones with dementia. That talks about the stress, the lack of self-care, the emotional roller coaster, and the fact that typically we're thrust into a caregiving crisis or a crisis and become caregivers in a moment,
Yeah.
and we're not prepared. And that's where the stress begins, that we're not prepared for what happens, for that emergency
Right.
room visit, for an accident. Could be an accident, doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a healthcare issue. And with the COVID crisis,
Oh.
anybody can become a caregiver.
And I think the sad thing is, in America or in any Western country, the family is shrinking down, less and less children. I mean, it's like in Asia, I came from a family of 5, right? That's average. And most of the family got 7, 8, 9 brother and sister, and you can divvy up the responsibility. Now, if you, most likely a lot of people here, 2, 3 kids, or some even 1, like I have 1 kid right now. And if anything happened, all the burden is almost like channeled into one person's responsibility. So, I mean, in your case, are you the only care person for your mom? Do you have siblings?
I am an only child.
Oh, yeah.
And
that
I was taught to do everything myself, not ask for help. And that was really bad advice in a caregiving situation, probably in life as well. But I have since learned from talking to other caregivers that even those that have siblings, there's so much conflict and arguments. There isn't that cohesive, let's take care of mom. What can I do to help? You know, and having family meetings and like you said, divvying up the different chores and responsibilities. So, you know, I regretted not having siblings for a while there. And then I realized
nothing you could do about it.
Nothing I could do about it. At least I was in somewhat, you could say I was in control with my mother was able to communicate her wishes. So we worked it together. I didn't force my opinions on her. She was included, and the new word now is care partners, not caregivers. If you, and it's a whole different perspective in thinking about both the relationship and the experience that you're about to have. You're partners in providing care, fun, joy, memories.
Well, that is the case that the patient still be able to think cohesively. What if the patient get dementia or Alzheimer?
Well, there's a process of deterioration that happens.
Okay.
And that's where planning now, we are all going to be caregivers or need care ourselves. So we could think about it. Well, I better plan for if I need someone to take care of it. Who's it going to be? What do I need to tell them? Are my medical files in order? My financial business in order? My legal documents in order? I mean, that's a place to start. And I know, see, I didn't have any, my mom and I did that before her crisis. We were prepared in so many ways. And because we figured she was 86 when I started taking care of her, or 85, and she lived to be 100. We kind of expected something would happen at some point because she had longevity in her family. So that's the biggest thing. When the crisis happens, it can be too late to prepare. I mean, what if it's a brain injury? Well, what if, dementia comes on slowly. So there is time to prepare. But the other difficulty is people can be in denial for a long time. They don't want to face reality.
It's not an easy topic to bring up.
No, it's not. No. And people also have a misconception about dementia, that it's just a memory problem, that people function pretty adequately, pretty normally, except for being forgetful. And it's way, way more than that. So there's a lot of advocacy going on now for training people about what dementia looks like, as well as training the healthcare professionals that take care of these people.
Well, tell us a little bit of how you stumble into this, or the mistake that you make, or things that that happen to you that you would like other people to avoid.
Yeah, well, the biggest mistake is not planning and not starting the communication. And yes, that can be very difficult, but that's something I can coach people in too. Okay. A lot of things end up in arguments. You can't have a conversation that ends up in an argument and move anything forward. So there's ways to have those conversations and at least plant seeds early, and then take it one step at a time to create that plan in those notebooks, that information that will be critical. It could be life-saving. I mean, things are crazy now with COVID, but there's still the telephone and there's still, video conferencing. But if your loved one were in an emergency room and you didn't know their medications, you could be in trouble. I mean, your loved one could be in trouble. That's a crisis. And that's important information. If you don't know their history of other illnesses, that's important information. So no, who has those conversations? I mean, I did, because I come from a healthcare background.
I should be. I know I should be. I mean, anyone out there have aging parents should be.
Should be, absolutely.
I was a little bit prepared because my mom came to live with us before she's too sick. So I kind of take care of her and took her to the doctor and so on. So I pretty much know her medical history. But when her slipped into a very serious condition, thank goodness I had everything in place. So
yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense when you say be prepared.
You were very wise to do that. And I'm an only child, but I have my documents in order and someone lined up who would be my advocate or spokesperson, my emergency contact, should I need that support. And it's hard when you're an only child, because not a lot of people want to be in that position where they advocate for you, or but there's all sorts of legal documents that can allow that all to transfer easily. So that's good. So another mistake too, and I'll tell you a story. I and you both know there's a lot of emotions that go through just interacting with parents or a spouse, but in the caregiving experience, it amplifies. And, I led a pretty calm, even keel life. I wasn't prepared for guilt or frustration or all the anxiety or the complications of working within the healthcare system. But one of the things that came out of that was learning to ask the right questions of the healthcare professionals, plus asking for help. Now, I always had the perspective, coming from a healthcare background, that the doctors, the nurses, the physical therapists, they were my team. I was actually not alone. I was the responsible person, but I was like the project manager. And I had to coordinate information, and I had to inspire them to work with me and tell me what was going on. So, I created a whole support team, and especially when Mom was in the assisted living facility, got to know all those people, right down from the dining room staff and the cooks, and enjoyed being in that environment and interacting with them, because they were key support people. They gave me a lot of energy back. And that's the other thing, your energy just deteriorates from the focused attention which could be 24/7, especially if you're caring for a loved one at home. I mean, that's exhausting. And how do you set boundaries? Because you have to have boundaries. And I didn't do that all that well. I mean, I've learned from my mistakes, things I didn't do well. I didn't ask my friends for help. They knew what I was going through and they didn't show up, but I also didn't ask for help. So learning what to ask for.
Right.
What do you need? You don't always know what you need, and you don't always know what you're worried about, and you don't always know a lot of things when you're caregiving, when you're in the midst of either a crisis or even just it's long term. All that uncertainty about recovery or about deterioration, or the doctor isn't listening to me, or the insurance didn't go well, didn't get done right. It's
and all
a
the
constant
payments. Oh my God, all the insurance payment that you could be on the phone constantly.
Constant to-do list, doctor's appointments, checking in on mom, visiting mom. And that's a problem now that's causing a lot of stress. The isolation from families not visiting their loved ones, especially in the memory care communities and the rehab centers. There's tough decisions before COVID, but now they're even more difficult, and people are not confident that they're doing the right thing. So what we talk about, I don't think I had a lot of resilience during the experience. I would certainly do it different. I would take better care of myself. I would redefine self-care. Self-care isn't walking on a treadmill for 30 minutes. It's 5 minutes of maybe walking around the block and getting some fresh air. It's 5 minutes of meditation. It's 5 minutes out in the garden. It's rethinking all of that. And people really have difficulty figuring that out later. So again, that can actually be part of a plan, a pre-plan. How are you going to take care of yourself? Oh, and the comment is, oh, I'll figure it out when it happens. That is the worst time to figure things out. You're not clearly thinking, your focus is on your loved one. So what I learned about myself, and people do get transformed in a very positive way through a caregiving experience, is that I was able to persevere. I was able to come out of I have some shyness programmed into me, and I was able to come out of that shell because mom was the most important thing in my life. And getting her quality care, spending quality time with her, creating memories when I could with her. I mean, every day could be a memory. There could be 5 minutes of a memory, or it could be longer. When she was in good health, it was definitely much longer. We had a lot of fun times together when we could. But she had 3 healthcare crises that put her in the hospital for weeks. And I was told to prepare for her death. Now, she had the resilience. She didn't die 3 times. She came back. Lady. She said, I didn't die because I wanted to spend more time with you. She said that to me. She had some awareness that she could come back, and she chose that.
Oh, so, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And is there a home nursing program that people can hire a nurse to come in a couple hours in a week, in a day, to relieve them so they can do some sort of health self-care themselves?
Well, there's different types of programs. One is home care companies that are more companion services and maybe light housekeeping or feeding, doing laundry, doing things around the home, or even the assisted living. The others are the home health agencies that provide nursing staff or therapists. And those are the ones that are usually covered by insurance, not the companion companies. So again, that's why pre-planning financial situations, because people are going broke caring for loved ones. It's expensive to get old, and it's even more expensive to get sick in our culture.
Well, I would advise don't get old and don't get sick.
Get
that is just not a reality that we're facing.
You will get old. There's no stopping.
I refuse to get old.
Don't get sick. Yeah.
I refuse to get old, but I'm going to keep celebrating those birthdays because I love the attention and the love that I get. I wanted to mention another thing that I really learned, and fortunately, I learned it early on in my caregiving experience. Being an only child, my mom was very proud of me, very loving. I really fulfilled one of her dreams. She had two dreams, one to get married and find her Prince Charming, and she did that, and the other to have a child to take care of, and she did that. So she was really a very happy person, and that's why she wanted to spend more time with me. But in the caregiving experience, there's a lot of conflict that can happen, right? Especially when you don't communicate your feelings, when you don't talk things through. And I had an experience with her where I was afraid to tell her my feelings, which were, you're being very difficult and you're annoying me. And this is really hard on me and you're exacerbating the problem. And I think it could be easier, right? So one day I actually told her she was a pain in the ass. I hope I can say that. But she was a pain. And I didn't know how she was going to take that. And I couldn't believe I said it out loud, but I did.
Well, you were frustrated.
I was a volcano.
Yeah.
I was exploding in the moment. I was like, you can't quit your job, there's no way out. And she looked at me and she said, don't you think I know I'm a pain in the ass? I know this, and I'm sorry. And we both started laughing, though. What mother is going to say that to you? Yeah. I mean, whose mother says that to you?
We have a term for that. We call it a PETA.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to use that. Well, we laughed. And the great part of it was whenever she annoyed me in the future, and the annoyment was like bossing me around. Get me a pain pill. I need a cup of coffee. The food here stinks. I'm hungry. It was that kind of tone of voice day after day. And I would just look at her and I would go, pain in the ass, cut it out. And she would laugh. And she goes, oh, I didn't mean that. So it served me well for the rest of the 11 years I took care of her. But that communication, that being authentic and honest and open with people. But I never did explode again because I didn't have to. And if you explode too much, that doesn't work.
I think it's good to kind of vent it out and make humor out of it, which you and your mom did.
There is a point in the caregiving journey when you learned a lot about caregiving, when you've been through a crisis, you've been through a lot, where humor is an actual survival technique. It's a coping strategy. It just, you pick your battles and you pick the times that you laugh as well. But what was missing in our relationship at the point that I had that outburst was that I didn't feel loved anymore. I knew she loved me, but I didn't feel it. We weren't touching, we weren't hugging, we weren't telling each other we loved each other. And I realized, well, she must be feeling that too. And she was. And I said, gosh, we have to love on each other more. And that made a huge difference for the rest of the time. Now, for us, it was easy because we had that foundation of love already there. Not everybody loves the person they're taking care of.
Absolutely.
So that's a whole nother situation, but you can change how you interact with the person for your well-being and for their well-being, because there's so much uncertainty and you do not know how long this journey is going to last. And, how do you want to live your life? You want
afterward. I've heard about your speech about afterward. You depleted. I mean, after you drain and then you deplete it.
I did. I sat on the couch for several months eating Oreo cookies in my pajamas and watching reruns of NCIS and whatever else was on television. It was horrible, but I was depleted. That's the word. I was exhausted and depleted.
I did the same thing. I took one whole year after my mom passed.
Yeah. It's a lot of draining, I am sure. I mean, like you focus so much. It's just like, you completely gut out everything that you have. And now you got to find a way to refill it back. And it's not an easy journey, I could imagine.
Yeah, and it's every time she was in the hospital, you know, and this was before COVID, I was there. I was there to talk to every doctor, no matter what time of day they were going to come, right?
Yeah.
And you don't know often when they're going to come, although I tried to establish relationships with everybody. My background in healthcare and being an instructor at Baylor College of Medicine, I would mention that. It perked them up a little. Oh, here's a colleague. Okay.
Yeah.
They talk to me in a different way
Right.
than they talk to
Well,
other people.
fortunately, you were able to take the time off whatever you were
I was.
doing
I
to care
was.
for her. What if people need to support their 3 children at home and they can't take the time and be with mom 24/7 like that? What on earth are
Yeah.
they going to do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I put my business on hold.
Right.
Whenever mom need to be in the hospital, I said everything else just on hold, cancel
Right.
all the appointment.
Yeah. Well, and that's why creating a team is important too. A team of people that can help you out at least a little bit during that experience. But yeah, many caregivers are forced to either go part-time in their work
Right.
or leave their jobs completely. And they are sandwiched between the family and the older
And there's
person
the
they're
guilt,
taking care
the
of.
guilt in all front. In
Yeah.
everything you do, there's a guilt that you're not able to complete it in a whole picture. And I'm sure it's not easy.
No, that's even harder. I don't think I had the most difficult caregiving experience, but they're all unique. They're all difficult for different reasons.
Right.
And challenge people for different reasons. And that's why, you know, I was 67 years old when my mom died. I was well into Social Security and Medicare, and I could have retired. But I had a friend that said to me, "You've been educating people all your life. Look at what you've learned."
Yeah.
He said, "Caregivers need what you know. They need your wisdom. They need you to mentor them through the experience so they're not as stressed out as you were." So that was an easy decision. It was like, oh, hello, I could do that, right?
Yeah. And you can channel all your energy, things that you just learned recently, to put in use and help other people. And especially in Florida, we have such a great population of the elderly people that and their children, maybe it might not be staying here, but you can consult with them elsewhere.
Right. And that would be wonderful to be able to do that and get people thinking. You know, lives are, you know, I was going to say lives are busy, but you know, with COVID, some people have a lot of time. They're at home a lot.
Yeah.
This could be a very good project for people.
And now with Zoom, you know, you can always meet. Yeah.
Have family meetings to talk about things, to get the conversation started. Yeah.
So what is exactly, how do you consult people? Like how what's the journey that if people need to find out? You get a consultation with you, or you help them on the way, on the go, or how does that work?
We start out with a free 30-minute call so they can get to know me and what I offer, but also I want to hear their story and make sure that I can advise them. And usually I can, because they have a decision to make, or they're in a crisis situation, or they need resources, or they need someone to just listen to their story without judgment. And family often can't do that. Families give advice a lot and they tell you you're doing things wrong, and that's not support. That's a pull on your energy again. I'm currently doing some free Zoom presentations as well that are interactive, that provide both information and coaching, helping people find solutions to what they're going through now. And I've got a workshop coming up in April. So I'm just beginning to plan that. That's going to be probably not quite a full day. I've got to be mindful of the tasks that are before the caregivers. It's going to be very informative, and I'll have a very special offer about the support that I can provide. But we've got to build community of caregivers. I never talked to anybody who was a caregiver before. When my mom was, I didn't know anybody that took care of someone. And after she died and I started talking about my business, all my friends said, oh, well, I took care of my mother and I took care of a spouse.
Well, Sarah
and
here,
I found
2 out of 3,
people.
right? Sarah did that. And
But that is critical. It would have made such a difference in my life if I had had a community to go to. And there was support in Orlando. There are were groups like that. They're probably online now, which actually makes it easier for people to attend.
Yeah.
I didn't go because of the distance driving to get to the group, and I was tired. You know, when you're tired, it's just really hard.
I wonder, is there a meetup group out there? Or maybe you could starting up a meetup group.
Meetup would be good. Definitely going to start a Facebook community, a private group. So there'll be an invitation into that.
One of my friends here in Tampa Bay, she started doing the support group for the last several years. But the last few years, she had a radio show. It's called Caregivers something. When I get the exact name of her radio show, I will email it to you. I will connect you too. Maybe you can be her guest on her show. Her show is every Saturday morning around 11 o'clock.
Yeah, I would appreciate that much. I'm really connecting now with a lot of people. You know, this is fairly new, that there's a lot of people out there that are helping caregivers.
Yeah.
The focus before was on the loved one with the illness or the problems. There are a lot of services for those. So people are now, you know, and this started in, well, it's been 18 years now since I started my caregiving experience. Even the books there weren't really good books to read or advice online.
And you are coming out with a book, right?
I am working on my book. You know,
awesome.
The people can get a free digital book if they go to my website, mycaregiverconsultant.com. And it's called 21, you asked me about mistakes. It's called 21 Mistakes Caregivers Make and How to Avoid Them. And the bigger version of that is going to be the book that'll hopefully come out probably in the fall. But that's free. So awesome. That is free. And that will help them start to think about, oh, I haven't done this. I haven't done this. I need to, you know, some of the planning, the ideas for planning for the experience. So I would love for people to read that book. And,
well, thank you. I think this is so needed out there, especially, like I said, that people with aging parents, aging spouses, and even people who already have preconditions that they're not aging, but they're in that population. So I'm
glad you mentioned that, because I forgot to mention that. Why do you want to start to plan now? Definitely if there is health conditions that you know about, or, you know, I've just been involved with a family that the 3 of the 4 sisters have dementia. One just recently passed away. So that is very strong, but the people knew about it because their mother had it.
Yeah.
And there was some planning that went on.
It's sad to say, but there's a lot of things that young people get it too, like, you know, terminal illness like cancers and all the other stuff that it just terrified to learn, you know, people are getting into those kind of illness younger and younger too. It's not even, it happens with aging.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
They used to call early onset dementia if it happened at age 60, like between 60 and 65, but they're now calling it young onset.
Yeah.
And also it's being diagnosed with people in their 40s. So I don't know what we're doing to ourselves to cause that, but
I don't know.
We've got to be aware of it, and we've got to approach it as finding a solution, you know, helping ourselves get through the experience, not putting ourselves in a stressful situation. I'm going to say that.
Bottom line here is to prepare.
Yeah, I think the better approach is to protect ourselves, is to educate ourselves. What is it? What are some things that we can do to take care of ourselves, take care of our brain, of our memory, so that we don't go on that road? So there is a solution, but we have to seek out, we have to look for it.
Before, if you can. You can't prepare for everything.
Right.
There's no way you can prepare for everything.
As much as you can, right?
There are a ton of
obvious stuff.
Yeah. There are a ton of resources though in this community, and everyone that I've talked to say people don't know we're here. and they come to us. They may find us in a crisis and they may not, but there's
Right.
so many, there's over 64 million people caring for a loved one in the United States.
Wow.
I forget
Yeah.
what the statistics are for Florida, but they're high. They're high, and people need support, and they need to know where the resources are. And they need that. I really think they need the mentorship. That would have made such a
Yeah.
huge difference in my life.
It's definitely a conversation worth having. And I know sometimes we put it off because life, life's always things happen. And then it's like, it's easy to procrastinate because you don't know what to do. So you
Yeah.
push it aside, but definitely it's something that we need to be aware of and talk it out. And if you have any questions, please reach out to Toni. She's a wealth of experience and resources for you. Thank you, Toni, for sharing your story with us. And thank you for turning things around and help other people to prepare themselves so they don't have to fall into the situation that they didn't know what to do, and then they just let somebody else make the decision for them.
Yeah, I'm glad that you bring this topic up because everybody is facing that
Yeah.
situation. So,
And not
Well,
everybody realizes it.
mhm.
Not everybody thinks about it. And I did. I mean, that was part of my pre-planning.
right.
My mom's getting old. Let's do something about this.
Yeah. So it is an ongoing conversation, and we wish we have Toni for longer period of time so we can ask more questions. But I see that we are running out of time, and I want to thank you everyone for tuning in and for connecting with us. And hopefully, if you have any questions, reach out to Toni. She's going to put her website down there, or we have a website down there, so you can reach out to her and start the dialogue, because it's never too early to talk about this kind of thing. So thank you, Toni.
You're welcome. Thanks,
see
everyone.